Unfortunately, Meghan has never been authentic. She has to think about everything. She's not spontaneous. Everything she says is pre-planned and rehearsed. It makes me laugh because I know all her looks and expressions. I know when she's faking it for.
Meghan Markle has built an image of kindness, authenticity and victimhood. But her own father, Thomas Markle, is pulling back the curtain on what really happens behind closed doors. Today, we break down Thomas Markle's latest revelations that completely expose Meghan's hypocrisy and manipulation tactics.
For the cameras. She's trying so hard to be perfect that she tenses up every time the camera is on her. The best cooks are funny. They mess up. They are human. She just wants to be perfect. It's so sad because she's trying so hard to stay in the limelight. One of the most brutal reviews thus far of With Love, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex's Netflix disaster. And guess whose words they were? Her own father, Thomas Markle, who has provided a scathing analysis, including revealing the multitude of lies in the Netflix series. And we're going to get into some of those today with Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network. I mean, Thomas Markle is completely right, isn't he, Brittany? However, it is still quite brutal. This is his daughter that he is critiquing. However, the thing that he is particularly annoyed about is the fact that Meghan has tried to paint her childhood as some sort of latchkey kid. And he does say, look, occasionally we did eat TV dinners because he was working two very successful big Hollywood jobs. But he says, Brittany, that they would eat out at least 3 times a week. And far from growing up on fast food, Meghan's favourite restaurant was Musso and Frank in Hollywood, a very expensive eatery, which has been around since 1990. Stars who used to eat there include Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Marilyn Monroe. So, Brittany, yet again, Thomas Markle has exposed the big fat lies from his daughter.
Stay tuned, because this is one explosive story you don't want to miss. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the latest royal drama. After years of silence and patience, Thomas Markle is finally speaking out about his daughter. In a recent interview, he revealed that Meghan has completely cut him off despite his attempts to reach out. He even stated, and I quote, "I've done nothing wrong."
Well, Dan, for sure. Meghan has constantly tried, I think, to reframe her childhood as some sort of great struggle, that she was in somehow like a bad area of Los Angeles and that she had everything was a bit challenging. And she had to go to the old spaghetti factory. She mentioned this in a letter to one of our, I think, senators or something. The old spaghetti factory is a pretty nice restaurant. It's a chain, but the food dishes there are pretty expensive. And so she is totally trying to reframe everything in order to fit a specific agenda. And I'm always curious, how many versions of her childhood did she tell Prince Harry at this point? Because I've always been under the conclusion, you could say, or the assumption that the reason Meghan Markle did not want Prince Harry to meet her father is that he would not go along with her narrative about her childhood struggles. Because, I mean, she went to private school. She had, I think, a fantastic childhood in many ways and was well taken care of. But now she sort of, denigrates her father and says, oh, no, wasn't that great or what have you, when it was actually quite good. She led an upper middle class lifestyle, but I don't think that is a story she has told her husband in the slightest.
No, of course not. By the way, we are looking at new pictures of the husband, the hair-challenged husband, the follicle-challenged husband, Prince Harry, who was at the 1805 Rock for Responders benefits at the Granada Theatre in Santa Barbara, California. Meghan seems to have moved on, doesn't she? Not too bothered anymore about the first responders, Brittany, and the Californian wildfire. She only was really interested when the disaster tourism was going to get her in the front page. Instead, we got this video from her, which she described as Sweet Pea Sunday. So even though the series is out, Brittany, there's still a lot more Meghan Markle to come. So who cares about the first responders, Brittany? She's just going to be tending to her garden and constantly trying to push the Netflix show, it seems.
I mean, I saw this video and I thought, oh my gosh, how dull. She really is quite dull and boring in many ways. This is not exciting. It is not interesting at all. And I'm like, who is engaging in this? Because it just looks nice. And like her father said, he can tell when she's lying or trying to make things perfect. And you just see this even in this little Instagram video as well. It's too perfect. Well, where's the chaos of a Sunday morning? Who's watching the kids if she's out tending the garden in this very slow and careful manner? The kids don't seem to be around. Who's watching the children? Because maybe it's not her husband because he was at this benefit. It's obviously not her. She's tending to the garden. So who's watching the kids? The nameless, faceless nannies they refuse to acknowledge exist, I guess. But I find her whole setup, company, the show, everything just so incredibly.
I just want to see my grandkids. But instead of compassion, Meghan has left him out in the cold. So what does this say about her character? Meghan often speaks about kindness, forgiveness, and family values. She preaches about empowering women and supporting mental health. But here's the question: does she practice what she preaches?
She keeps being told how successful and ambitious and amazing Meghan Markle is, and I never see it on screen. I just never, ever see it on screen.
No, indeed. And look, Thomas Markle says, we lived in a great area. This is in an interview, by the way, with the Mail on Sunday, Brittany. We lived in a great area, which was packed with restaurants. We ate out all the time. At weekends when I wasn't working, I'd take her to a dance class and then invite her and all her friends out for a meal. And he was particularly withering about Meghan's love of vast fruit platters, saying, I don't think most people these days can afford to go out and spend $90 on fruit. She's out of touch with normal people. She puts edible flowers on everything. No one has edible flowers handy. Sending kids off to school with edible flowers on their foods is silly. Kids don't like them. And if you put edible flowers in a kid's lunchbox, they would probably get teased at school. He also didn't like the one pot spaghetti, Brittany, where she fries vegetables, adds the raw spaghetti, which she calls noodles, and then adds water and puts the lid on. Thomas Markle said, who makes spaghetti that way? You always boil the water, then add the spaghetti. It is the most basic thing, and I couldn't agree more with that. But Brittany, what's brilliant is online snoops have actually been able to discover that Meghan's own words from her past, and this is what always happens, right, with a compulsive liar, their own words from their past come back to haunt them. So look at this juxtaposition between pre-royal Meghan Markle and how she used to speak about what food she ate growing up to the lies she pumped out on With Love Meghan.
Her actions towards her own father suggest otherwise. How can someone advocate for compassion when they refuse to even acknowledge their own father? The hypocrisy is shocking, and Thomas Markle isn't the only one who sees it. Do you? One of the biggest accusations Thomas Markle has made is that Meghan carefully stages her media presence.
I really enjoyed eating your food. This dish reminded me of the kind of food that I grew up eating in California, like that real sort of farm-to-table fresh, really.
I was a latchkey kid, so I grew up with a lot of fast food and also a lot of TV tray dinner.
So which Meghan are we meant to believe, Brittany? Well, I'm going to plump for the Suits star, okay, rather than the lying former royal.
Well, I mean, so many things, Dan, about Meghan, what Meghan says about her past are just contradict each other constantly. She's constantly trying to reframe the narrative to fit her particular situation. It makes more sense for her now to say she was a latchkey kid when her dad used to send a car to pick her up and take her to set so she could be around the other actors and the crew members. So which Meghan is it? And this comes down definitely to a fundamental problem with Meghan in the public eye. One that continues to haunt her is that she just has this real hard time sticking to one narrative about herself. And so because she's constantly changing, I think with an audience, especially one that's starting to track her after a specific period of time, she starts to undermine her own authenticity and her own ability to tell the truth, because she seems to imply a lot that she spent a lot of time in her childhood with her mom, which I think is, somewhat true. But we also know she was mostly raised by her dad because her mom went to start a career. And so she wants to uplift her mom, but it's like, but what about her dad? He was the one really raising her in many ways, and she just shucks him out the door.
Remember the infamous letter she wrote to him? Meghan later claimed it was private, but it was mysteriously leaked in a way that painted her as the victim. Then there's the Netflix documentary, the Oprah interview, and the endless PR stunts. Is it all calculated? Thomas Markle says yes, and he might just have the proof.
Give me a break.
And so her whole concept of, you are invited to the table overall for her whole branding is, I think, an absolute mess, because we know the one person that she should invite that she refuses to is her own father.
Totally. Then we've got the other lie. Brittany, actually, there's so many lies. We're going to go through them all. But one of the other big lies is, of course, about the name Meghan Sussex. So first, can I tell you what Thomas Markle's reaction was to this? Because the grandmother that Meghan talks a lot about, according to Thomas, his mum, would be so disappointed to hear that Meghan no longer wants to use the name Markle. He says, my mother was proud to be a Markle, so am I. Meghan never had a problem with the Markle name until she met Prince Harry. And then with bitter sarcasm, he added, now I have to say I am Meghan Sussex's dad. So that's Thomas's take on the name debacle. But then, Brittany, we get to the King's cousin, Lord Ivor Mountbatten. And as Lee Cohen put it, this guy, by the way, has become a big star of the American version of The Traitors. And as Lee Cohen, our friend, put it, Lord Ivor Mountbatten has smacked down the disaster Duchess Meghan Markle for suggesting her last name is Sussex. Markle truly is the lowest of the low. Her lies are legion. And this was actually in an interview with Town and Country. And he could not be clearer, even though there has been a lot of consternation about exactly who's right on this name debacle. But let me just tell you exactly what Mountbatten told Town and Country, and then I'll get your reaction, Brittany. He said, it's interesting because she's completely incorrect. Her family name is not Sussex. Her family name is Mountbatten Windsor. Her children are called Archie and Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor. They're not called Archie and Lilibet Sussex because Sussex is a title. So they are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but actually he's Harry Mountbatten Windsor and she would be Meghan Mountbatten Windsor. And then Mountbatten called on his immediate family to further explain royal naming protocol to those of us outside.
Thomas Markle isn't the only family member Meghan has pushed aside. Her half-siblings, extended relatives, and even close friends have spoken out about how she cuts people off once they no longer serve her narrative. Is this just a coincidence, or is Meghan Markle's pattern of manipulation too obvious to ignore? Let us know in the comments what you think.
Of it. So this felt like quite a slap down for Meghan, especially, by the way, given I always have to remind people of this, Brittany, Town and Country is one of the few publications that remains a propagandist for the Sussexes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. They've run, I think, Meghan's article when she went to the Godmother's opening, that's where they got a big exclusive from her. But when it comes to this naming debacle, I mean, as far as I'm aware, she cannot use the surname Mountbatten Windsor because that exclusively resides with actual blood royals within the family. I mean, she can technically sort of use Sussex, but it's definitely a little weird. And what I come back to is that when it comes to this like naming debacle, she didn't slowly put this idea out there and kind of have a slow rollout. She just dropped the bomb on Drew going, I'm Meghan Sussex. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? So it's sort of this very much confusion situation that Meghan did not need to have when she has 6 different identities now. She has the brand Meghan, she has With Love, she has As Ever, she has American Riviera Orchard still out there. She has Meghan Markle, now Meghan Sussex and the Duchess of Sussex. And she still goes with everything as the Duchess of Sussex and only makes people call her Meghan Sussex in random situations. So it's very inconsistent and I think muddies the water when she doesn't have to and just creates a whole lot of confusion. And it was completely and utterly unnecessary. I don't get it. I don't understand where she's trying to go with this. But I would bet you, Dan, that part of the big reason for this is that she hates the fact that Meghan Markle sort of stands for failure. And she's trying to amend that by going, well, I'm Meghan Sussex now, hoping to change the algorithms. But I don't really think that's going to happen.
At the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. Meghan Markle's carefully crafted image of kindness crumbles when faced with the reality of her own family relationships. What do you think? Is Thomas Markle right to speak out? Or is this just another chapter in the ongoing Markle family drama? Let's discuss in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal updates.